I'm giving out one bet for every single fight at UFC Abu Dhabi. If you're new here, we're not breaking down fights. We're not giving predictions. There's hundreds of channels on YouTube doing that right now. I'm going through the fights and I'm finding one bet to give you guys for every single fight. Last week, we absolutely crushed it at UFC 318. I believe we hit 9 bets out of 13 total fights or 14 total fights. We hit like the first 6 or 7 in a row. My 2 favorite bets of the night that hit: Judici Cagliari inside the distance, women's MMA. We get the finish, 3rd round, plus 175. And of course, I got to go with Paulo Costa. We took him on the spread and the money line, and the money line was plus 210. And he absolutely dominated the first 2 rounds against Roman Kopylov. So love to see it from Paulo Costa. I'm also not going to waste too much more time. If you want to get my premium bets, which were up on the last 2 cards, I believe close to 10 units, just on the last 2 UFC cards, you can get it at winnable.com/HOFpicks and use code Abu Dhabi this week to get it absolutely free for new users. So without any further ado, let's get into these fights. Starting off with a heavyweight contenders fight. That's a joke for some of you guys. Marcus Buchecha taking on Martin Buday. All right, this line is suspect as hell. Either the books know something that I don't, or this Buchecha guy is just going to be an absolute monster at the UFC level. Now, he's coming from one championship. Maybe people think that means he's automatically UFC level. But I look at his record, man. The guy's fighting guys with little experience. They're 4-0, 5-1. But, I mean, you look a little bit closer. 3 fights ago, he fought a guy who was like 1 or 2-0 and was 48 years old. Okay, he finished that one in the first round. He's actually finished every single one of his 5 wins inside the first round. The one fight that went past that, he lost by decision and got absolutely beat to a pulp because he couldn't get the takedowns on his opponent. He wasn't a good striker, and he gassed out after 4 minutes. Martin Buday is not like some killer big finisher or anything like that, but you know, Buday's been notoriously durable for 1. The guy has won a lot of UFC fights for 2. He fights well in the clinch, if that's where Marcus wants to take this thing. And, you know, Buday has good elbows, good knees, and he can really wear on you if you don't have a good gas tank. And the one thing that I've always thought Buday has done well is kind of exploit your weaknesses. He's not going to stand there and strike with you at distance if you're a better kickboxer than him. He's going to put you against the cage. He's going to make you work. He's going to land elbows, wear you down. Honestly, see him doing that similar thing here if he doesn't get submitted in round 1. If he doesn't get finished in round 1, I think Buday can run away with this fight, even possibly finish it late. You know, the number, though, it makes me feel like it's a massive trap because he's plus 2, what was he, plus 230? Plus 245 right now. And for a guy who's only lost 1 UFC fight, makes me scratch my head, man, because I really don't think this Marcus Buchecha guy is a stud or anything. He's 5-1. He's a heavyweight from 1 championship. 1 championship doesn't have the highest level heavyweights in their division. Martin Buday is 15-2, 6'4", 77-inch reach. I mean, he's never been submitted. He's been knocked out or TKO'd once, and it was a standing TKO by Shamil Gadziev. It's his only UFC loss. He's beaten everybody else. A lot of split decisions, but he's winning nonetheless. I'm going to take a dog shot. First fight on the card. So the official bet for this one is just going to be Martin Buday on the money line plus 245. We started out with big plus money on the last card. Let's make it a tradition. First fight's always got to be plus money. So Martin Buday plus 245, 246. That's what we're going to go with, man. I kind of like it. Also, I forgot to mention, if you guys do want to support me, I'll never ask you for my money, give you my Venmo, PayPal, nothing like that. Never want donations or anything. What you can do is just go to Better DFS, download the app, see if it's available in your state, and use code Nolan when you sign up, or use the link in the description. Get a 100% deposit match. Just go deposit $10. See if you can make an 8-leg parlay, an over-under parlay, and turn it into $1,000. Yes, you can 100 times your money on Better, which I believe is like the most of any DFS app. A lot of them are 50 times your money on Prize Picks, 80 times, but Better DFS has 100 times payouts on your parlays on there. So code Nolan on Better. Let's get in the second fight. Muhammad Yahya taking on Steven. I'm going to butcher this last name. Somebody's going to have to let me know in the comments. Is it Nguyen? Nguyen? I don't know. I'm going to call him Nguyen. We're just going to call him Steven. Look, Steven is going to be the much better and cleaner striker, I believe, than Muhammad Yahya. Muhammad Yahya, even though he's been in the UFC for a couple of fights now, I feel like he hasn't fought up to his capabilities or hasn't really looked like what he did on the regional scene or on UAE Warriors when he was fighting there. I think Yahya is a guy who, at his best, he's going to land some decent volume. He's going to come forward. He's always going to have to be durable to win fights. I think he's very hittable. I don't think his striking is spectacular. He can use his wrestling, get the fight to the mat. And I think that's kind of his win condition here. He's going to have to wrestle Steven, because if he doesn't, he's going to get picked apart at range. We saw him get picked apart, leg kicked off, and then dropped and finished by these names, man. Kawe Fernandez, who just beat Guram Kudalaze as well. And then he got beat up by Trevor Peek across the span of 3 rounds, where he just didn't offer much volume, just didn't really offer anything. Maybe a little bit of wrestling here and there. If he doesn't get the wrestling going here, I believe he loses again. And I'm honestly not super impressed with him by any means. And I think that Stephen Nguyen does have some decent power on him as well. Just looking at his record, what's he got? 9 wins, about half of them come by knockout. Beat AJ Cunningham round 2 finish. I mean, I don't know. Jorge Juarez he beat in LFA in the first round by, says, punches on Tapology. I don't know, man. It's hard to gauge where his power is at a UFC level, because he comes in there, AJ Cunningham gets finished by everybody. He fought Jarno Aarons and lost. Jarno's got some good Muay Thai, some good kickboxing. He showed a good chin in that fight. But, if you're not beating Jarno, it's hard to trust you at minus 330, I guess, against anybody, including Muhammad Yahya. So I would stay away from putting him in your parlays. It's just one of these fights you don't really know what you're going to get. We'll go with this fight to end inside the distance because, with Muhammad Yahya, he's fighting in Abu Dhabi. He's from, that region. That's where he fought on the regional scenes. He's going to be familiar. He's going to be more comfortable. Maybe he does get the takedowns going, can look for submissions and that kind of thing. And, on the flip side, maybe he gets his leg kicked off and he gets chinned by Steven here. So I'll just take this fight to end inside the distance. I don't really like either side. I don't like dog or pass for Yahya because he hasn't shown us anything. And I don't really like Steven at minus 330 after you're losing to Jarno Aarons. So that's what we're going to go with. Fight to end inside the distance is going to be the official play for that fight. All right, this one's actually going to be an absolute banger in my opinion. Anytime Ibo Aslan steps in there, you're going to get something. Ibo has some Turkish power. And if you've been watching him in the UFC, he kind of defied the whole he has no cardio or power late or he's going to death gas or anything when he got the 3rd round finish over Anton Turkali. And, after that, he knocks out Rafael Sequeira, who came in there and was basically just a standing punching bag until the ref pulled him off. Standing TKO there. But the one that makes me interested was his next fight against Jan Kudalaba, where he was taken down and put in that arm triangle and lost that fight. Because Billy Elekana, although I don't think he's a great mixed martial artist or anything, I think he holds a little power. I don't think he's going to want to stand and trade with Ibo. But he has shown, he can take people's backs. He can get some takedowns here and there. I mean, he did it against Bogdan Guskov in his debut on short notice, I believe. Took his back, had him in some sticky situations. I thought he was going to pull off a submission there for a bit. Guskov survived. It got into that 2nd round, and then Guskov ended up submitting him. But Billy Elekana, short notice, like I said, absolutely gassed out. And, that could definitely happen against Ibo Aslan here too. And if that does happen, I think Ibo, is probably going to take his head off. Oh, but, honestly, Ibo, I think, is a guy who probably loves to train boxing. He loves to strike. He does have big power, and I don't really think he pays much attention to the ground game. I do think he's kind of striking. He's knockout or bust. Fighting Anton Turkali, Turkali landed some takedowns and, went for some takedowns at least. But I don't really put Anton Turkali as a super dominant wrestler or anything. The play that I like on this fight is fight to not start round 3. And if you can't find that one, I think you just take the under 1.5, because if Ibo does get taken down and Billy puts him in the position that he had Bogdan Guskov in, I think he does find the submission here. But if he doesn't and he starts to get tired, I think he gets tired quick because Ibo hits so hard taking those shots is going to drain you. Ebo will rip the body. His boxing is very good. And again, that power is something else too. So this fight could be over in 10 seconds. It could take a little bit, but either way, I think one of these guys is finding a finish, and I think they do it inside 2 rounds. So the official play, fight does not start round 3. That's what we're going to go with in this one. It's going to be a firefight, though, early if Elekana decides he wants to trade. Okay, next up, Tabitha Ricci, Amanda Ribas. Here's an interesting thing about this fight for me, is that Amanda Ribas is dropping down to 115 pounds to fight Tabitha here. Tabitha is not big whatsoever for the division. She's short. She's got pretty short arms as well. And Amanda Ribas is taller, lankier, got some long arms, good boxing from the outside, throws good kicks, holds a little power herself. And on the mat, I think both these girls are good with their grappling. But I think Amanda's just going to be a little bit stronger, as that she's used to fighting these stronger women up at 125 pounds. Now dropping back down a weight class, I just don't really see I see people taking Tabitha as the dog here. I'm not really seeing what her path to victory is. Like, does she just out-volume her? Like, she could, I guess, in like round 3 and win that 3rd round. But while Amanda is fresh in the first 2, I think she can not just match the volume, but I think she's going to land the more damaging shots. She's going to land more power. Tabitha's just never been one of those fighters that has big power or gets knockouts or anything like that. She's pulled off a submission or 2, but I don't really see her submitting Amanda Ribas here. I think Ribas, with the strength, the size, and the jiu-jitsu that she possesses as well, can stay safe in those positions. Even, put Tabitha in bad positions. Maybe not submit her, but if Amanda Ribas gets on top of her, I think it's going to be very hard for Tabitha Ricci to get back to her feet successfully without giving up her back and getting put in even worse situations. So, yeah, wherever this fight goes, I think Amanda is just going to hold the size, a little bit of strength, maybe some power, and she'll be able to match her in the striking. So, minus 190 is what Amanda Ribas is right now. That's what I'm going to grab her at. I think it's a decent number. Tabitha, even when she wins fights, she's winning a lot of them by split decision. So she's fighting on super thin margins against girls that aren't as good as Amanda Ribas, in my opinion. Now you're getting there in with Ribas. I think minus 190 is probably about where the line should be. So I'm going to take it. Give me Amanda Ribas on the money line. That's going to be the official play for this fight. All right, Damon Blackshear versus Davy Grant. I got to see what I took here. Okay. First off, Damon Blackshear is like this roller coaster of a fighter. Not like so much the wins and losses, just like how he looks in there. I thought he was going to finish his last fight easily at Kansas City. And he gets in there. He's throwing some good shots, landed some good shots, but he just never really went to the grappling against Alateng Lee. He stood there, used his Muay Thai. His Muay Thai is very good, but sometimes he gets a little hesitant. He eats a lot of shots as well. And he's not the most powerful fighter with his hands or with his kicks or anything. Cardio's been suspect in some fights in the past. I mean, you look at the fight even before Alateng. Cody Gibson came out like a bat out of hell and was piecing him up and had Damon Blackshear covering up, eating big shots, and it didn't look good there for a while. Eventually, Cody slowed down, and Damon was able to get that Kimura, when the fight hit the mat. Before that, he hurts Cody Stamann and submits him. But, he got knocked out badly against Montel Jackson. He got beat by Mario Batista, took the fight on short notice, albeit after fighting 1 week before. And then he's beaten Jose Johnson, not really UFC level. Luan Lacerda, no longer in the UFC. Lost to Farid Basharat. So, yeah, man. It's hard to tell where Damon is exactly. But when you fight a guy like Davy Grant with all of this experience, Davy's a guy who's got good grappling defense. He's a guy who can submit you as well. I mean, we've seen him submit, guys like Rafael Sunsao, who's very good with his jiu-jitsu. So, yeah, I mean, if this ends up being a Muay Thai or kickboxing fight, kind of like Damon's last fight against Alateng Lee, I think Davy Grant is going to be much more effective than an Alateng was. Davy Grant went out there and beat Ramon Tavares pretty handily using his striking. He's got sharp elbows. He's very crafty with the striking as well. And he's been a really durable guy in his career. I mean, he lost to Adrian Yanez, who has massive power. Couldn't put out Davy Grant. Chito Vera couldn't do it. Who else was it recently? Oh, Daniel Marcos, another good kickboxer. That was a split decision loss for Davy Grant in London that a lot of people thought that he won. So if you're fighting on those close of margins with Daniel Marcos, if it's going to be a striking fight with Damon Blackshear, I see him being able to make this very, very close as well, at least stealing around here. And I don't really think Damon's wrestling is going to be good enough to go out here and just take Davy Grant down and hold him for rounds on rounds. So, my official play for this fight is going to be Davy Grant on the spread at plus 3.5 points. So that just means, for all of you, you guys know I like my spread bets. That just means Davy's got to win one round on all judges' scorecards for this bet to cash. He can lose 29-28 across the board and we still win. He just cannot get finished, or he cannot lose 30-27 on a judge's scorecard. And I really don't think he's going to. I think if this thing hits round 3, Davy Grant's going to be very, very live, and I think he wins round 3 against Damon Blackshear at a very, very high clip. So, yeah, I like this one a lot. Davy Grant plus 275. The spread is going to be plus money as well. Give me Davy Grant plus 3.5. That's the official play. The man that I cannot believe is coming back to Abu Dhabi after what happened to him, Carlos Leal, took his debut fight against Rinat Fakhretdinov on the Ilia Topuria Max Holloway card. They opened the card up. Carlos Leal beat the shit out of Rinat Fakhretdinov. Yeah, it was close in that first round. I'll give you that. But, they robbed Carlos Leal blind, and not just robbed him. They gave Rinat Fakhretdinov a 30-27. Okay, that's the most outlandish scorecard I think I've ever seen. Like, I'm convinced that one of those judges just had the names mixed up. Like, he was watching Carlos Leal, and he thought it was Rinat Fakhretdinov, and he thought Rinat was Carlos. He mixed them up, and he wrote the 30-27 next to the wrong guy. Like, it's the only way that's a 30-27 in that fight. Abu Dhabi, say what you want. Some people talk about that's a country or a place where you're going to see some fight fixing and these corrupt judges because there's so much money involved in everything over there. I don't know if I buy all that, but I will say that was a fishy one. And now he's coming back to the same place that did him so dirty. For one, I think what it's going to make Carlos Leal realize is that he cannot let this fight go to the scorecards, and he's going to come out guns blazing and try to get this thing done. Muslim Salikhov, on the other hand, very old for this division especially. He's taken some damage. He's taken some bad knockouts. But one thing that hasn't left him is really the hand speed, for one, and the power himself. Like, this guy's a very, very technical striker. He throws a lot of kung fu type of strikes, spinning kicks, all of that stuff. But as he has got older, I will say, the speed might be there, the power might be there. But as fight goes on, you can tell those big movements and those big kicks really start to wear him down. He does gas out a little bit. And Carlos Leal looks like a guy who's on all the sauce that you can get your hands on, has power in the hands, has a durable chin. And, if you have those things against Muslim Salikhov, I think you go out there and get the win. Now, he's a massive favorite. I think the books are expecting him to go out there and get the win. But I think Carlos Leal finishes this fight. I think he can knock out Muslim Salikhov, especially if Muslim does get tired in that second and third round, get a late finish. And again, I don't think Carlos is going to risk letting the judges have a say in this outcome against Muslim Salikhov, another guy that part of the world is going to be cheering for in Abu Dhabi. So, yeah, I'm going to be taking Carlos Leal by finish, and that's going to be my official play for this fight. Thug Nasty Bryce Mitchell taking on Saeed Nurmagomedov. No relation to Khabib Nurmagomedov whatsoever. I think for a while, Saeed Nurmagomedov was being very, very overvalued. He was a big favorite against guys. He was losing fights. He always will be a crafty striker, throws a lot of spinning kicks as well, has a phenomenal guillotine. So if you're going to wrestle him, you got to keep your neck safe. And I think Bryce is going to have to keep that neck safe because one mistake, and Saeed's got those like skinny long arms that he just cinches those chokes up, and it's impossible to get out of. And before you know it, it looks like his opponent's heads are going to pop off and they're tapping for their life. But I think Bryce, there's a couple things you got to realize in this fight. Bryce is dropping down to 135 pounds for this one after losing to John Silva at 145 at UFC 314. He's lost to Ilia Topuria at 145. He's fought some big names, and he's fought some guys that are really making waves in the UFC. Obviously, Ilia, pound for pound, number 1 or number 2, I can't exactly remember, probably number 1. That's one of his 3 losses. The other one, John Silva, a guy who's, about to be fighting a main event spot at Noche UFC against Diego Lopez. And who else did he lose to? Oh, Josh Emmett, who's got insane power, and he just knocked him out in round 1. Those are his only 3 losses in mixed martial arts. I mean, that's not nothing to hang your head about. I think people are down on Bryce because his personality gets a little out there. He says some bizarre things. But, if you put all that to the side, this guy went out there and hung with Dan Ige and wrestled him up a little bit and got a unanimous decision win. Knocks out Kron Gracie. Beats Edson Barboza. I believe he dropped him in that fight and then just got the takedowns and kind of smothered him. Beat Andre Feely, Charles Rosa, Matt Sales, Bobby Moffitt, Tyler Diamond on The Ultimate Fighter. Like, this guy, when he gets his wrestling going, he's super hard to beat, especially if you can't keep up with the pace. And, cutting down to 135, I think that allows him to really take this thing serious, to get into good enough shape to make the weight, for one. He's been in Abu Dhabi for a while training to get accustomed to over there. I think that's good. And it looks like, he's not really doing these podcasts and on social media a ton, which tells me he's probably locked in and focused because he knows he's got to get back in the win column. He's 1-2 in his last 3. Regardless of who you're fighting, how good they are, and who you're losing to, like, you got to rack up wins at this level, and he's got to do so here. I think he can wear down Saeed Nurmagomedov. I think if Bryce goes to the grappling right away, the better off he's going to be. I think Saeed will start to slow down like he does in every single fight. And once Bryce starts having more and more success with the wrestling, I think he could even find a submission if he wanted it in this fight. Either way, I'm taking Bryce Mitchell on the money line. I think it's a phenomenal buy low spot on him. I think he bounces back well in this spot as well. And go over there and play spoiler for Nurmagomedov in Abu Dhabi. All right, Bogdan Guskov taking on Nikita Krylov. This one I've had a few plays I've been eyeing, especially looking at Nikita Krylov coming off of being a decent-sized favorite and losing by knockout, getting flatlined by Dominic Reyes. I was at that fight in Miami, and it was nasty. And that was just 3 months ago, okay? I mean, that's not that long, especially you're going in there against another big boy who hits hard like Bogdan Guskov. Maybe not the smartest move for your career. I get it. Krylov's, losing time. He's getting a little bit older. But if he messes around too long on the feet, like, he could get cracked here and the same exact thing could happen. I do think, though, if Krylov is smart, he comes out here similar to Bryce Mitchell and just gets the grappling going right away. Not just to wear down Bogdan Guskov, but to look to finish Bogdan Guskov. I mean, Guskov fought Billy Elekana a fight ago where, like I said, he got his back taken fairly easily, survived that position. But, even in his debut against Volkan Oezdemir, he got submitted by Volkan. Volkan's known for his kickboxing and his power in the hands, and he was able to submit Bogdan Guskov. If he can, I know that Nikita Krylov will have his opportunities if he gets the fight to the mat. So the one thing you can make a case for Bogdan Guskov is that his main training partner has been Walter Walker, and Walter Walker is the king of submissions in the UFC right now with 3 back-to-back heel hooks. So, maybe his grappling is getting better. Is it good enough to hang with Nikita on the ground? Probably not yet, but, takedown defense is going to be key. If he can stuff the takedowns, he's going to have a chance to knock out Nikita Krylov. I'm going to take this fight does not start round 3, or you can just take the under 2.5, maybe bump it up, use it as a parlay piece. Just because both guys have such a path to finish. I mean, like I said, Guskov with the knockout, Krylov with the submission, and even knockout. Like, the guy's got power in his hands. Any way you chop it up, I think one of these guys is going out either by choke or by knockout. So that's what I'm going to play. Take under 2.5 in a parlay, or take fight does not start round 3 for better odds. I think that one's cashing. Another guy trying to bounce back, Asu Almabayev, is taking on Jose Ochoa. Ochoa coming off of his debut against Cody Durden in a massive spot for your debut on a good card in front of a crowd. And he goes out there and he knocks him out. I was super impressed. I picked Jose Ochoa to win. He was on the One Bet show the last time we did this, and the Jose Ochoa money line was actually the play against Cody Durden. But to do it in that fashion, man, I was super impressed with the hand speed. The striking is coming along. I just think he's a bit wild. And, getting wild against these guys, like, if he doesn't knock out Cody Durden, what happens when he starts overextending a little bit or getting tired? I think Cody Durden probably would have started to take him down and have success more and more as the fight went on, and using his experience and, really drowning him out there. Now you're fighting a guy in Asu Almabayev who's coming off of a main event spot against Manel Kopp, who is a crazy striker with tons of volume and power. And I think Asu kind of, he petitioned for an illegal strike there that kind of led to the finish against Kopp. But either way, I mean, Asu needed takedowns against Kopp to win. Didn't really get him. There was no chance he was going to stand and trade with him and win that fight. Here, I think he's got a better chance. Just as in, I think Jose is so much more hittable than a Manel Kopp that Asu Almabayev could find a little success and then get his game going off of that success instead of swinging and missing against Manel Kopp and trying to track him down constantly and then not be able to hit him, not being able to set up takedowns using your striking. I think that's what really hurt him against Manel. But I don't know if he has that same issue to the extent he did there against Jose Ochoa. So buy low spot on Asu Almabayev. You can kind of sign me up for it here. I do think he'll have a little bit of success with the wrestling, and I just think he's going to be so much more physically strong than Jose Ochoa to where that if he does get him on his back, I think it's going to be very hard for Ochoa to get back to his feet. Yes, Ochoa is good with the jiu-jitsu. He could look for submissions off of his back, but I just don't think you're going to catch a guy with this high caliber of grappling like Asu in these types of submission. Like, you're going to have to club and sub him if you want to get him out of there. On the feet, yeah, you could clip him. Yeah, you could knock him out. But Asu has shown a pretty good chin. Got TKO'd, but that's Manel Kopp. I'm not ready to put Jose Ochoa up there with Manel Kopp as far as the power, the timing, and all that stuff. So I'm going to take Asu Almabayev as another buy low spot here. I'll take him on the money line. The price is -105. He was a massive, massive favorite when this line opened, and it got hammered. Jose Ochoa got bet down all the way to nearly pick him here. So, Jose Ochoa was definitely the bet early on, like a couple of weeks ago when he was plus 200, plus 2, whatever he was. But now that this fight's even, I think you take a shot on Asu Almabayev, and that's what I'm going to be doing here. All right. Feature fight of the night, Shara Nurmagomedov taking on Marc-Andre Barriault. I think this one's pretty simple. I mean, this is Abu Dhabi. Shara Bullet is one of the biggest celebrities right now, especially in combat sports, but, getting to be a big celebrity just in general in that region. And, he doesn't fight in the U.S. He doesn't fight in these other countries. He's like an exclusive Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi guy. And maybe that's because of his eye and he can't get sanctioned, other places. But I just think, this is such a fan favorite that, if they buy tickets to a show, they want to see the Bullet. They want to see Shara. Massive fans over there. And I don't really think, after giving him Michael Venom Page, I don't think they're going to give him another fight they don't think he can win. Because MVP, terrible matchup. The speed was tough. The movement's really hard, especially if you're blind in one eye. It's hard to deal with. But a guy like Marc-Andre Barriault, who's pretty stationary with the striking. I mean, Joe Pyfer exposed that right away. Yes, he hits hard. We saw what he did against Bruno Silva. I just don't think he's going to be able to hold Shara up against the fence and just start teeing off without Shara moving or, hitting him back or anything like that. Shara is younger than Bruno is, way more explosive, uses his kicks very, very well. And, Marc-Andre Barriault has shown you can knock him out. And, yes, he's notoriously had pretty good cardio, but I don't think it's insane cardio at this point in his career. I don't think it's a cardio where he can come out here and just pace Shara Bullet for a full 15 minutes and win that way. I think Marc-Andre is extremely hittable for one. Older in his career. Before Bruno Silva, man, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. Got finished by Dustin Stoltzfus in round 1 by strikes. Joe Pyfer, round 1 knockout. Chris Curtis, split decision. Chris Curtis doesn't really knock anybody out. If it wasn't for Bruno Silva stepping in there, this guy would be on a 4-fight losing streak, maybe not even in the UFC right now. I think they're feeding him to the wolves against Shara in Abu Dhabi. I'm taking Shara Bullet, obviously, to win the fight. But I'm going to take this. Let me see what I took here. Shara Nurmagomedov wins inside the distance. Also, Shara by KO. I really don't think Shara is going to go out there and sub him. You never know. Maybe he's looking to prove a point. Take that Shara ITD. I think that's how he wins this fight. I think this is a showcase fight for Shara Bullet Magomedov to get himself back in the win column. Now, I'm excited to see him do it, too. He's a fun guy to watch. All right. Co-main event is a tough one with Petr Yan and Marcus McGhee because I think Petr Yan, his best days may be behind him a little bit. Not saying he can't win fights at this level anymore. Petr Yan will always be able to win fights because of how talented he is, but he's not quite as fast anymore and, not as much volume. And Marcus McGhee's not a spring chicken by any means, but as far as a MMA career goes, he's a lot younger than Petr Yan. No, Marcus McGhee has not fought the level of competition that Petr Yan has. But, I think Marcus has a couple of things going for him in a matchup like this. First off, his size. I think he could be a physical problem for Petr Yan if he wants to get in the clinch. He's got to watch out for the knees and elbows from Petr Yan and the trips. But I do think that Marcus McGhee could get a little bit of control time up against the cage if he wanted it, just because of how physical he is and how strong he is. And while the fight's at range, I do think Marcus is going to be the guy, landing maybe a little bit more volume, just because Petr Yan, especially early in the fight, Petr Yan drops round one at a high clip because he likes to, sit back and get his reads, and he's not real active until that second and third round, and he tries to take over the fights. Against Marcus McGhee, you might eat some big shots, and it might wear you down a little bit. And, you might drop that first round. Well, now you're a minus 400 at the beginning of the fight who just lost round one. Now you're getting into round two, and you're minus 150, minus 120. The line completely flips. So I wouldn't grab Petr Yan at minus 400. If you're going to bet him, I think you just wait till after round one, and then you go from there. The one thing that I think Marcus McGhee could struggle with is definitely the leg kicks. We saw Jonathan Martinez have Marcus McGhee badly hurt late in that fight via leg kicks. Made everybody nervous. Everyone was sweating that, and, ended up pulling through. But at the end of the day, I do think Yan will start to come alive round two, round three, and make this a closer fight. But I don't think this is a minus 400 by any means. And I do think Marcus McGhee probably wins round one. So I'm going to take Marcus McGhee on the spread plus 3.5 because all he got to do is win round one on all judges' scorecards, or just one round rather, and you win the bet. And I do think Marcus McGhee is going to come out here and do that. So give me Marcus McGhee plus 3.5. Not saying Marcus wins the fight. I'm saying he can win one round, and that's all you got to do to cash that for us. All right, let's get into the main event. Reinier de Ridder, Robert Whittaker, man. I've back and forth on this fight, back and forth, because, I look at Reinier de Ridder, and he's on a tear, came into the UFC, had a tough fight with GM3, but GM3, stylistic-wise, is always going to be tough for RDR because he can match the grappling on the feet, or on the ground, on the feet. It's kind of a wash a little bit, but his next fight, Kevin Holland drags him down easily. Kevin Holland's takedown defense isn't great, submits him. Submission defense isn't great. Next fight, though, Bo Nickel. Just exposed Bo for not being ready for this level and not ever having, have to face adversity. And a lot of times when guys face adversity for the first time, it doesn't go well. And I think we saw that with Bo Nickel. Phenomenal win for Reinier de Ridder as the big underdog. But now you're getting Robert Whittaker. And Robert Whittaker, for one, much better striker than a GM3 or a Bo Nickel. Robert Whittaker, way more experienced than GM3, Bo Nickel, and Kevin Holland as far as high-level experience goes. And, Robert Whittaker will dance around the outside and make it hard for RDR to catch up with him. I think RDR's path to victory here is to just get to the clinch any way necessary, or any way possible, and just wear down Robert. Because as Robert's gotten a little bit older and later on in his long career, he starts to slow down mid-fight. He really, really does, especially when guys can get him in those grappling situations like a Dricus du Plessis and can land a big shot. I just don't really know if Reinier de Ridder has the striking to catch Robert like he was catching Bo Nickel or GM3. Robert is so defensively sound with the striking against good strikers. I don't know how this, average striker is going to deal with it. I think RDR really does need a couple of takedowns. Maybe that's all it takes, and that grappling is that good. I know Hamzat just submitted Robert Whittaker, but Hamzat and RDR are still a little bit different too. One's super explosive and aggressive. RDR is kind of a process guy who's going to go through the steps to get you in those bad situations. I'm going to make this simple. I'm going to stick with the old vet, with the experience, with the striking. Give me Robert Whittaker. I think this is not the right time to jump on the bandwagon. I think you should have done it, before the Kevin Holland fight where you knew he had the grappling advantage. I think you should have done it against Bo Nickel looking back because of the, the championship level experience he had in one, and then the UFC, whereas Bo has not really fought anybody. But now that you're fighting a legend in Robert Whittaker, a former champ, a guy who's fought all the people to fight in this division that are at the top, I think it's time to back Robert Whittaker one more time. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Robert Whittaker at minus 150. maybe I'm going to regret it and should have stayed on the train of RDR. But, I think this is a spot where everybody's thinking RDR because of recency bias, and Robert Whittaker is going to surprise some people. He just got submitted in his last fight against Hamzat, and I think that's what's given people, a hard look at RDR at plus money. But I think it's a bit of a trap. I really do. Give me Robert Whittaker minus 150. That's going to be the official play, and that's their last fight on this card. Again, boys, if you guys want to get all of my premium picks, we're on a little bit of a hot streak now. The last 2 PFL cards we cashed, the last 2 UFC cards we cashed, up over, I believe up over 13, 14 units combined on those last 4 weeks here. So we're getting hot. Code Abu Dhabi on winnable.com/HOF picks. Get the 5-day free trial. Get all of my bets, Hey Jive picks for free. And, join our Discord, see what it's all about. I know you're not going to regret it. Thank you to Legendz, one of the sponsors of this show. It's a social casino. You can bet for free. I mean, they give you these gold coins. You can play, if you just want to go in there and have some fun, they give you a daily reward with those gold coins. Or you can get sweep coins and play for real money on Legendz. I mean, they got sports, they got slots, table games, everything you can think of. I'm going to put my link right down in the description for you guys to go join. You can use it in almost every single state in the U.S. Again, you guys know the drill. If you want to support me, better DFS, code Nolan, 100% deposit match, and you can win up to 100 times your money. Appreciate you guys all being here. I'm looking to hit 8, 9, 10 more bets on this card as well. That's pretty consistent, I think. I think if you go back and watch all my videos, you'll see that every fight card we're winning at I want to say 70, 75% of the bets we're giving out. It's always 7 bets, 8 bets, or 9 bets. We haven't hit 10 bets on a card yet, but it's always 7, 8, or 9. I mean, that's consistency. I will bet you money you cannot go out there and find somebody who gives a bet on every single fight and stands behind that bet and hits them as consistently as I do. That's a little challenge for you. If you do, shoot me a DM. I'll Venmo you or something if you can find somebody. But again, I appreciate you guys all being here. Again, working on this volume. Let me know in the comments if the volume is better this week. If it is, thank God. And maybe we'll crack that 10,000 view mark. We're at 9.8 for the last video. I'm still yet to get a video with 10,000 views. So let's make it this one. Thank you guys again for being here. Drop a comment, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not, turn post notifications on. We'll see you guys next week for the next video.